24 years old, getting to number one in the world, I was, as you talk about life being weird, I was hit with the reality that there was a lot of meaningless in my life, even though I happened to be really good at something. I never really cared for the sport of tennis for many reasons. And I always connected my lack of choice, not just with my father, but with my lack of education. I was an 8th grade dropout. And so being number one in the world and being great at something that you hated is a very confusing feeling. And it wasn't until I saw a show on 60 Minutes, a KIP program, Knowledge is Power program, and it was these two guys, Michael Feinberg, Dave Levin, who were rolling up their sleeves in these children's lives and giving them the tools to have a future of their choosing. He was teaching them. And I personally was in a spiral down in my life at that stage, and I decided what seemed to be overnight that my mission and objective was to create the opportunity for a child to have choice in their life through the hope and education. The true tragedy is a disparity of hope, and that's where desperate things happen. It used to be with hard work, with determination, with a good education came opportunity and that chance to succeed. But if it all boils down to what zip code you live in, this is where people don't have hope. And when you don't have hope, you have desperation. And when you have desperation, you have desperate acts. And when you have desperate acts, society takes this toll on society. I had no education. Even when I was in school, I was never prepared for school. In our house, we had, one rule. You wake up, play tennis, brush your teeth, and in that order. Yeah. This was it, So there was no choice. There was no opportunity for education. I got sent away from home at 13 to a tennis academy, and the only way out of this sort of military-like, training center, being 3,000 miles away from my home at 13 years old, was to succeed. To me, the two greatest motivators in life, quite frankly, when you boil anything down to its essence, is fear and love, And I spent half my life motivated by fear. And then through education and the ability to create those hopes for children that don't have a future they're choosing, came the love. And I found a way to succeed much more in the second half of my career than the first half as a result. My surrogate father was probably my first guiding light in life, who was my trainer, Gil Reyes, of 21 years. And Gil, an incredible man who taught me that I was worth caring about, and that really changed the trajectory of what I aspired to be as a human being. So he was the first one to be my real mentor, my real role model, my real daily guiding light, as it relates to you can't control other people, but you can control yourself. And when you do, when you are a good man, you are where you need to be. How much can philanthropy really scale? I got news for you. Philanthropy ends when philanthropists run out of money or when they redirect the interest of their money. So that's not a real scalable approach. But what can we still do? And I loved what Emmanuel was saying up here today. We can still innovate. We can still think outside the box. We can still find new ways to get ahead of the curve, to keep ourselves relevant, to keep ourselves growing, scalable, sustainable. And so I said, we need to go to the private sector. One of the things in the neighborhoods that we're building these schools, they fit in our Title I program, which means free and reduced lunch, which means they come from such low-income housing, such low-income family economics that they actually get extra funding for breakfast in the morning. There's a couple sides to education that people don't think about. You never know what flips a switch in a child's life. So it could be sports, it could be arts, it could be music, it could be math, it could be our traditional subjects. It could be a teacher, it could be a person. But when that switch gets flipped, these children light up and they change. As an athlete, I trained to maximize my performance from a physical level, and food had a lot to do with it, because food has to do with energy. Food has to do with growth of of muscles and stimulation of oxygen to those muscles. I mean, there's so many ways I use food as a tool. I competed in my career of 21 years, weighing 162 pounds to weighing 182 pounds, and doing that on purpose to find exactly where I wanted to be, and then the foods that I needed to use. There's always healthier choices than non-healthier choices. So never go shopping when you're starving.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because that's a death nail. You're going to buy stuff you don't really need, and you try to prepare yourself for success. So how can we in today's society find a way to individualize real-time feedback to a child in their learnings directly? So in a class environment, teach to each child. So we get a choice. We can either teach our kids very early and give them the tools through reading so that they can have a successful trajectory of growth in their educational journey, or we could build prisons.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm focused on the former.